Snoop versus Disney, a family film debate, right? So Snoop Dogg has responded to the backlash generated over his comments about a same-sex scene in the Disney film Lightyear. We're going to listen to his original comments, and I'll read what he posed as his quote-unquote, I guess, I don't want to say, apology that people are saying might be fake.
I took my grandson to see Buzz Lightyear.
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz.
So we watching it, and man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of that I don't have an answer for. It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age, like,
that part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Anyways.
Since then, he has said, I was just caught off guard and had no answer for my grandsons. All of my gay friends know what's up, and they've been calling me with love, he continued. My bad for not knowing the answers for a 6-year-old. Teach me how to learn. I'm not perfect. This is what was posted on his Instagram page. Like I said, speculations about the, validity of it, whatever. But let's go ahead and move on. So, was the backlash against Snoop, is this justified, or was it an overreaction in today's sensitive social media climate? Your thoughts. Jay Moore, I'll come to you first.
I think it was an overreaction. I mean, Snoop was having a casual conversation here. I don't know why we expect these, even when we talk about Snoop in the political space, why we expect political and certain kind of answers from Snoop. Do I think as parents and maybe grandparents at this point, and like I said, me not being a parent, but having people I care for in the, I just say alphabet community, and that's not to marginalize anything. I just don't want to miss a number or a letter or a symbol. Maybe you should kind of educate yourself and make sure you have something for your grandkids, or just say, hey, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But at the same time, I agree with Snoop. It's like, hey, man, I was caught off guard by this. I'm taking my kids to see a cartoon. And, and then my grandson, I think he said, was asking me about 2 women having a baby. I can see where you would be, maybe as a parent, be caught off guard by that. I'm conflicted because I understand where Snoop is coming from, but I also want to be sensitive to my friends who are in the community and see where, like, okay, they want their representation too. But honestly, if I had kids and I wanted to take them to, what is considered a family friendly movie, because I can't take them to see all the gangsta I want to see. I just want to go see that movie. I don't want any kind of political messages or, whatever the people in Hollywood think that we in middle America need to be better about. And I understand, like, because a lot of the cartoons are about inclusiveness, and they think there are people who think that's political, because teaching about acceptance and being cool to your neighbor, like, oh, that's woke, because of course they've taken woke and taken it to somewhere else to try to make it seem wrong, and if Snoop apologizes and he says these things, if you don't want to accept his apology, that's on you. And if you just want to say, oh, he only did this because of this, and you don't want to accept an apology because you're professionally mad, which I think a lot of these folks are, then that's your problem. If he came to you with a certain level of love and said, hey, man, I was caught off guard, but my people know me, then it was, look, I'll say it just like this. When we talked about Dave Chappelle, when he had his special, and there was a whole thing with, I thought I had said some things in that episode that could have been deemed as insensitive to the trans community. And I hated to be like, let me call my trans friend and talk to him about it, but I was like, hey, this is what I said in advance of even the episode coming out. What do you think? Because I don't want to seem insensitive. But at the same time, like, so there's levels of this. We're all learning in real time a lot of times, because, you just got to if you have a certain age, and remember, Snoop is in his 50s.
Yeah, he's
If you have a
50s.
certain age, there was a time, especially when you're talking about hip hop, where we was really hard on the gays, and to be more sensitive about it, like now it makes me really kind of uncomfortable when I hear the use of somebody drop a maggot in a song,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh, that wasn't even necessary. Like I was listening to "It's Yours" by Wu-Tang Clan, and there's a lyric by the RZA, and it's just real pronounced, and I was like, damn, we didn't even need to do that. But if people are willing to learn and apologize, accept their apologies and move on, stop being professionally mad because you have nothing else to do. And the thing is, this is a crazy thing. We can't cancel Snoop. Clearly, Snoop has done a lot of stuff in his career that should have been cancelable.
It's Teflon.
But if anything, if Snoop apologizes, just go and accept the apology and move on.
No,
You said we shouldn't accept his apology?
No, he performed for Trump last year, right?
Oh, well, that's different. Like I said,
No, it's not.
I say that.
No, it's not. It's not. I think it's two different sides of the marginalization coin.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's go there.
Where do I even begin? I completely disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
I think all this is 100% justified. What happens in this is in the same sense, is the same thing that we are critical about white people that are insensitive about racial relations towards black people and other things as well. And in a lot of times what happens is, regardless of if we want to admit it or not, a lot of white people are just purely ignorant. And they live in their ignorance. Whether or not they should be ignorant or not is just kind of what it is a lot of times. There's outright hatred in the same way there's outright hatred for gay people and trans people and stuff like that. And then there's people such as Snoop who just exist in a space where he has, at least to some degree, an innate distaste or discomfort around gay people and gay things. When what Hollywood is doing here, or whoever is putting this to the game, is they're trying to make this normal. Gay people exist, and they exist in this space.
They exist in your family. Everybody got at least a gay cousin.
Sure.
Shout to Chris Rock.
But I think it's
He's not gay. That's
I
something
think,
he said.
I guess I'm kind of all over the place, but what I'm really trying to say is that the whole point of this is that they want to make this normalized.
Mm-hmm.
We want to treat people that are gay, who are trans, who are or whatever, just as normal people.
Right.
And it should be a normal thing for somebody to be able to see something like this, and then for somebody to say, well, this is just, these two people are together and they love each other and they had a baby. The end. It shouldn't have to be this complicated thing about, well, I don't understand how to explain this to, like, why is it hard? I just don't understand. I get it on the surface level of us. This is kind of newish in general, but this is something that we need to be able to navigate as grown-ups that have kids around us. And if we want to continually marginalize people, then we're going to react how Snoop did. That's the way that I look at it.
Do you think it's because we're all speaking as adults?
Sure.
Do you think when we're talking about things that we talk to, 6-year-olds, there's a lot of things we don't talk to 6-year-olds about.
True.
But at the same time, what is the cutoff age?
But I'll stop you there though. Are you okay with, or is it okay if a man and a woman are pregnant together in this? Is it so if the child is coming up and saying, "Oh, what's going on here? She's pregnant."
Mm-hmm.
Right. Is that okay? But if two women are not together, then it's like some sort of weird taboo subject to where, like, I don't know how to explain that two women are together. Because what it's doing is it's marginalizing gay people. This is what it's doing.
I think we'll get lost. Go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the issue at hand is, and honestly, I don't think that Snoop meant to be malicious when he was saying that, because
I agree.
Even the way it came across wasn't necessarily as like, I don't want to. It's just like, I don't know how to.
Sure.
So he's actually acknowledging his fault. He doesn't know how to explain this to his grandchildren. Honestly, don't feel like you should have to explain any kind of sexual orientation to kids of a certain age. I just think it's inappropriate. I think kids should grow up and be kids. That's all they should focus on, is being kids. I don't think it should matter if you're talking about a woman and a man together, a man and a man, a woman and a woman. I don't think these are conversations that you need to have with little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it presents itself, if you decide that you want to have that conversation, you have to be kind of learned about how to explain it to them
Sure.
in that particular fashion, versus just being like, well, I don't know what to say. And I'm not faulting him for not knowing what to say, because
Sure.
you can be in that situation. Having kids is a learning experience in itself. Granted, he already has kids. He has grandkids now, but he didn't have to go through that with his kids because of how things have kind of evolved. And it also depends on how one was brought up, grown up, their beliefs, things of that nature.
That's what I was going to say.
All of that stuff kind of plays a factor, but you still have to be sensitive to others in the grand scheme of things. I mean, this is Snoop is a world star at this point. He doesn't have all the answers as far as that's concerned, like he said, but he knows how to be a celebrity. That's what he knows how to do.
I'll say this, because I kind of got off track a little bit. I'll say people are allowed to mess up, and people are allowed to do that.
100%.
And I think Snoop was the reason that I have an issue with what Snoop said wasn't necessarily the fact that he it was like in the nature of kind of how he said his original statement. And sure, he apologized after the fact, but I think he deserves grace like anybody else does for these type of situations. But I just, the original statement that he said was the thing that I kind of had a problem with, because it's like, we have a tendency to look at the world from a particular view, all of us being heterosexual people. We look at the view, man and a woman, that's the standard, right? And when you look at everything from that particular standard, that means that there is another group of people that don't fall into that are automatically marginalized. And they're just looking for awareness around, like, we exist, we're here, we're normal, right? And so it's always an uphill battle, and no matter what that is. And so that's why I think it's okay and it's justified for people to call him out on this, to say, hey, like, we just want to we just want to exist. We don't want to have to, I don't know, we don't want to have to constantly have to justify our existence.
Yeah, no, I get that.
In front of people. And when you're somebody like Snoop, which in this statement, he kind of made fun of it at the same time. And so I think when you do that and you have some ignorance behind it, I think it's perfectly valid, and I think it's perfectly justified for people to call him on it. And then however he wants to respond to it is however he responds to it. And then to your guys' point, however they respond to that is however they respond to that. And that's all that you can do. But I think it's important to be able to call people on stuff on their own ignorance, if you will.
No, I think people get, I think my thing is, what I search for whenever I have this conversation is a level of balance, because marginalized to me can go both ways. And Terry made a good point when he mentioned about how certain people are raised in your household, and that's going to be embedded, that you can't fight what you were raised in.
It's a little different. I actually wanted to kind of expound on that a little bit, because it's not necessarily that, because you can be raised in a house that teaches hate and you don't know anything but hate. So it's bigger than that. It's just as a whole. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I feel like sexual conversations should not happen with kids of certain age. Period. You know what I'm saying? That's just
speaking, to especially me, as the parent in the room.
Yes, it's not appropriate. You know what I'm saying? So there are some things that I don't agree with, like as far as when people say that my 4-year-old is this way, so we're going to do this to make. I don't necessarily agree with that, because they're not advanced. Their mind has not developed enough in order to make that decision. You're making that decision for this child.
So my rebuttal to that would be, in this particular instance, based upon our own, I don't even want to call it indoctrination. Let's just say like how we were raised and whatever. Mm-hmm. If you're a 6-year-old kid, and like I said, in this movie or whatever, if it's a man and a woman together, do you still bat your eyes if she's pregnant in the same type of way if it's two women?
I wouldn't. Me personally, I wouldn't bat my eyes if that's mommy and daddy.
Sure.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But if there's a situation to where like, so why is there mommy and mommy? Then, I mean, there's a simple way that I can explain that, and the other conversation can happen later. I'm not about to go into depth with a 6-year-old
Yeah.
about this type of situation. I can explain it intelligently so that she can understand what's going on. I mean, I remember being a kid noticing people that were different than me, but it didn't bother me. So I don't want to sway a child any which way, because I wasn't swayed any which way. I was pretty much soaking up things, and I noticed that, okay, such and such is different than me. Okay. Oh, well,
Mhm.
we're going out to the playground. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? It wasn't like this big ordeal to where let's pinpoint on this. Now, I can understand how some people think that this is being driven home because it's new to them as well.
Sure.
So you're picking up on it all the time. I mean, it's the same way as it's kind of similar to rating a movie or a show that only certain, or you're supposed to be at a certain age or a certain maturity level in order to see this. I can see that being something that they implement if something is going on. If a parent decides they don't want this child to see this particular information,
Sure. I think that would be okay.
they're informed about it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But in the same token, I can understand both sides of why one parent would be like, well, I don't want to have to explain this. And then on the other token, somebody that has 2 moms, well, they should explain it.
hmm
There has to be some kind of balance or some kind of come together on that, because there's no just direct answer as far as what's right and wrong.
And that's what I was trying to allude. That's what I was trying to allude to. Is there's 2 sides that should be respected. Is the way I feel. I shouldn't be looked at as a certain way because I choose to raise my children a certain way, just like you should. But I think the heads start to clash when people start to say, well, you're wrong, and then you're wrong.
I mean, I would probably disagree with you wholeheartedly, just because one way is essentially training marginalization and the other one way is not.
How?
What do you mean?
Like, break it down. Like, why is one different from the other?
Well, one say is like, hey, this is abnormal, and I don't want to explain it to you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
You're saying this is the norm. The normal is a man and a woman, and that's the
Uh-huh.
way that it should be, period. And anything other than that is weird,
But what
and
if,
I don't want to have to talk about
but
it.
what if I say, this is what the man and the woman is what I choose to have in my household. This is how I was raised, but I have no problem with what said person does in their life. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not casting aspersions on it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying what's in my household is what I choose to do. You choose to do what you want to do, and everybody can be happy. I don't
Sure.
think there's anything wrong with that.
That's cool. I mean, it's a little bit homophobic, but it's what
I don't
but-
think it's homophobic.
But it is. I mean, like, people put a lot of hindrance on that word, but it is a little bit. But I think you can live however you want to live.
There you go.
But at the same time, like, what you're kind of speaking on is tolerance in a way. And like, I think there's this inherent nature of, well, this is the way that I want to view this, but this is also the patriarchy. This is also the way that the world consists of. And so you inherently, you have this marginalized group that exists that has to also constantly fight against that. Right?
I agree with that from the standpoint if you're adding extra layers onto how you feel about a certain side. I feel you on that part. I'm just on the ground level.
Right.
This is this. I respect this, and it's cool. I don't have any other feelings other than I'm gonna raise my children this way. You do yours, and everybody's happy.
And I think that's fine. But I think where it becomes a little bit weird again on this particular issue, and I'm just going to say this and shut up, but like,
Yeah.
on this particular issue is that the norm is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you also are a part of the norm, you probably don't see the blind spots that you're looking at to where you're like, well, these other people are just,
just trying to live.
they're trying to live. We're in a place where like our administration is like literally trying to take these rights away from people that are gay and that are trans and all this stuff. And so people that get upset at that particular thing fuels the fire on the opposite end, regardless,
on the other side,
regardless of if you don't really care either way. So it's like you're kind of choosing a side without choosing a side. And that's what it kind of feels like. And I relate this in a similar but not direct one-of-one relation to kind of how like all marginalization kind of occurs in even race relations and stuff of that nature too. I mean, it's not a one-on-one, but it's similar.
We haven't heard, but yeah, hold on. We haven't heard from Spoolz.
I mean, I think you.
Sorry,
no,
jump in, bro.
You guys summed it all up pretty well. Why did we need to know this about Snoop Dogg? There's a question that we
because there's always
asked.
a microphone in front of his face.
Or but he also feeds into it himself too. You don't have to do that.
He said it on a podcast, right?
Yep. So that's where I come from sometimes. It's just like I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't personally care what Snoop Dogg thinks about anything.
Sure.
Really, at the end of the day, I liked his music when I was younger, and he's a superstar, man. Like good for him. That's great. A lot of the things you guys said about tolerance and what goes on in my home versus someone else's home and things like that. Like I get it. One of my mom's close friends when I was growing up was a gay man. Mm-hmm. So at a somewhat younger age, like I was explained what homosexuality was, So for me, like personally, when I think someone brought up earlier, like there's still people out there that are like, how am I supposed to explain this? And I don't think that's what Snoop was saying. I think Snoop was like, I wasn't ready for this, and I'm not ready to have this conversation right now with him during this film, right? But
Maybe
people have been saying that maybe. But people have been saying stuff like for 10 years. You know what I mean? For years and years. So in 10 years, you haven't figured out how to tell your child what being gay is.
Sure.
I looked up on my phone while you guys were talking, just general statistics, and just Google a quick Google. 2% of the U.S. population is gay. 1.4% is lesbian. 5.2% identify as bisexual, and 1.3% identify as transgender. Those are relatively small numbers when it comes to the greater whole. Still a lot of people. And I'm certainly not saying because they're a smaller group of people, you shouldn't respect them and they shouldn't have rights, because that's, not at all what I'm saying. But all that said, like I don't understand not being able to at some point just tell people they're different. And there's a lot of different ways people are different in the world. You know what I mean? It just, for me, it's tough to...
Feels like a very easy conversation to me, but maybe that's just from the outside looking in.
I didn't grow up in an ultra religious household, right?
That makes a difference.
I know people that did that struggle with this stuff.
Sure.
So I don't have any. I don't need to know that about. I don't care what Snoop thinks about this. I don't care what a lot of people think about a lot of things. I don't like that we're in an age where, and people feed in. It's not just like, to Jay's. I know you weren't saying this, that he had a mic in his face. Well, he welcomes that mic in his face.
Yeah, I mean, he gets paid for it.
A lot of people do. So
he does.
Just like I said last time I was here, when I used to do this show regularly, people said stuff about me that I didn't care for. Oh well, I decided to get in front of this and be put out on the internet. So I don't know. As far as Snoop's growth as a human and like all this, if he does, great, and if he doesn't, that's fine. I hope he does, and I don't think he didn't sound homophobic to me.
Nah.
At the end of the day,
I think they're. No, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. But no, I'm very always have been pro tolerance and understanding, different people and why they're different and respecting that, and it's not that hard for me personally. So it's hard for me to relate.
So. I don't know. I think that well, I will say this. At least he attempted to make an apology for this instead of tap dancing around the fact that he was out there kicking it with white supremacists during the inauguration.
It's a weird time right now, man. Did you ever think that we would, Snoop Dogg performing, doing like for Donald Trump, whatever? It's just an interesting time in the world right now, especially in the United States of America, man. And it's scary in some ways that we could talk, and it's, in other ways, it's just kind of like sitting back and watch. Like I'm not on social media. I've made that choice for years now, not to be on that. I still read the news every day, and especially in Indy. Terry, you're one of the people, years ago that mentioned, I know your local politics, local things that are going on. That's, the better way to, kind of, I've
national politics will drive you crazy.
It will, man. It's good to kind of know. So I read about this and I just didn't click.
No, I didn't either. Honestly.
You know what I mean?
I didn't either.
Because I knew the discourse was going to be toxic. It was going to be.
Hope it all goes well.
It was going to be, I knew that they were going to pull up, because I remember a long time ago, Snoop was on this show called The L Word. I think it was on Showtime or something. This is like 20 years ago. I knew that was going to come up, and you know, there's going to be somebody that runs down some of Snoop's what could be considered sort of lyrics that are gay leaning.
You beat me to me to the punch.
Yeah,
you beat me to the punch.
I knew all that was coming, but I also know that we have such short attention spans in this country that it was going to pass over. Snoop was going to be fine, and either people like I said, at least he apologized, because like I said, I'm still waiting on him to say, you know what, I was wrong, even though the check was good. For, you know, he went on the Breakfast Club and still tried to justify all that tap dancing he did.
So here's my question. This is what I was trying to get to on the second half, on the back end. Anybody else got anything else? No, I ain't mad.
Okay.
Anybody else got anything to say on the first part, or no? We good?
I'm just gonna say, like, I still do think that it's justified, and I think as long as it's done in a tasteful way, I think these conversations are important. So regardless of if we have subtle differences, I feel like us even having this conversation out loud is important to other people potentially looking at this from a particular view that maybe, you know.
At the end of the day, as long as it's led with love and not hate, is where you find the balance. Because love isn't trying to demonize somebody or point the finger and wag your finger at them. It's trying to find a common ground regardless of my ideal of what's going on versus somebody else's. And obviously we can't have that conversation with somebody from that community right now, but we're kind of speaking on behalf
But I'll also say, like, in the same way that not all, you know, like, we're not all monoliths, you know, like not every gay person is a monolith. Like, just because you talk to one trans or gay person doesn't mean they feel the same way as the next person. You know what I mean?
I talked, like, with the whole Dave Chappelle, I talked to one trans person, and they thought it was funny, but I could probably talk to 10 more, and they say that this is not cool.
So,
yeah. And they can say that they didn't think it was a big deal too, and then somebody else might. And it kind of goes back to the conversation of sometimes we take on the weight of a situation that's going on because we're understanding the way that we're understanding versus understanding that somebody else that's more, you know what I'm saying, versed in that can understand it. So,
but I mean, this type of stuff though, like, it happens all the time. Like, my wife has a lot of gay friends, like a lot of her best friends, or bisexual or whatever. And she was at work recently, and there was a comment made by her boss that was weird. You know, it was like, it was very, she didn't think she did anything wrong. She thought she was just joking and saying something, but like, she said it in front of a gay man and my wife, who has friends like that. And it's like highly offended by it stuff, you know? And it's like those type of conversations and the lack of awareness sometimes bleed into other parts of the world. And that's, it's not really, this isn't really about Snoop, in my opinion.
It's deeper than Snoop.
Snoop says some and then we can talk about what he said, and then he apologized. And that's it. We can either accept the apology and move on. But it's like, to me, it bleeds.
What do you all think about?
Is it funny at all that people apologize for stuff like that today, but don't go back and apologize for saying the F word a million times in their songs?
That's what I'm trying to get to.
That's fair too.
And I'm not. That's not a judgment. I'm just saying it's interesting.
I think.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what are we apologizing?
Sure.
Yo, can I pose this question real quick? And then we can continue. The second question is Snoop the wrong messenger for this conversation, considering his subject matter? That's what I've been trying to get to. Like,
not the wrong one, but like the unnecessary one. How's that?
Okay, fair enough.
And Snoop's allowed to feel and think. I'm not saying. I always feel like these nowadays, and in some ways it's good, in some ways it's a little much. Like, there's so many qualifiers that come with everything you have to say. I'm not saying this, and I don't mean that. I'll still keep doing it just because I think it's considerate. You know, at the end of the day, but
brass tacks. I mean, it's what it is.
Yeah. Snoop's all right in my book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got no problem with him, but you know, it's just all seems really unnecessary, man.
Lone, what do you think about 20-year-old Snoop versus Grandpa Snoop? And should there be a level of accountability for him as Grandpa Snoop in terms of what, I guess, his past was? Like, should he still continue to, can he say, oh man, I don't want my grandson seeing this and this, and then still rap about what he's been rapping about for the past 30 years on his next record?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's a bit hypocritical, probably.
That's what I'm looking for. Is that how you feel about that?
I don't know.
And we can take it off Snoop, just the concept in general. Like,
people grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Part,
you can grow when you're 20, you can grow when you're 40, you can grow when you're 60s, 70s, and all that stuff. And I think we have to leave space for people to be able to do that. I mean it when I say, like, I don't care who the messenger is. To me, it's just about the message and how it was portrayed. Like, to me, it's not even about Snoop. Like, I mean, he said the things, he apologized. Cool. That's it for me. It's like, but I think the messaging is the part that I like to pay attention to. Like, it's, like that's the thing that we have to like combat in that particular type of way. It's like, let's be a little bit more learned. Let's be a little bit more sensitive. Like this whole phrase oversensitive gets thrown around a lot. There's nothing wrong with being sensitive. Like, sensitive is a good thing. And
do you believe in the concept of being the I guess the phrase of oversensitive?
I think it's a cop out for people that don't have emotional maturity. Sometimes you can disagree. I don't really care, but like I'm just saying in general. I'm saying in general, like it's just like, we are human beings. We have feelings and and we care about stuff, and it's okay to care about stuff, and if if somebody's got a problem with you caring about some other person, then that person, like that's just kind of how I feel.
No,
like,
to me,
it
comes to
coming to you next, Spoolz.
To being a parent. So we talk about how Snoop, how he was at a certain age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's certain things that your parent have done that you have no idea about what they did because they were being a parent. There's certain things that you're not supposed to show your kids. You might not know that such and such daddy was a pimp because he did it on a whole nother side of town, but he came home and raised his child like he was supposed to be raised.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So like when we talk about Snoop's content and the trouble he's been in and things of that nature, I don't think that really makes a difference if he was a good parent. You know what I'm saying? So like he did some things before he became a parent, and obviously he's a public figure, so his kids would be able to look up and see what he did. But as a parent, you're supposed to shield your stuff. You're setting an example for your kid. Like, everybody's heard the term of don't do as I do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
when I'm trying to teach you, because I want you to be better than me.
We're all hypocrites to some degree.
Right. So
100%.
I think it kind of boils down to that in the whole scheme of things. He didn't have the answer for this shit, man. At the end of the day, he didn't have the answer for it. And to Lone's point, it's okay for people to be offended, but in the same token, I can see why he thought this was just, and even said it in a joking manner. I don't think he was actually making fun of the situation. He was trying to make light of the situation. So I understand, and I don't think you can take what his past and his music or anything that he's been involved with would have to do with any of this.
I love the good father point. That's one I didn't think about. Spoolz, jump in. Go ahead.
Man, kind of to the point made before about like sensitivity being a good thing. Like I agree. One of the things sometimes we have to keep in mind with a lot of that to kind of protect ourselves is that everybody doesn't think that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
Very
few people, I think, actually really do.
And we have to kind of be accepting of others where they're at sometimes in their growth and things like that. And it's a problem I have sometimes with the far left and this kind of preachy. I mean, the far right does the same thing too, but I tend to be, I've always been more liberal. But like, quit telling everyone what they should think and when, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's okay to be progressive. I consider myself a progressive person, but things take time, man.
Sure.
And then, talking about kind of comparing this to other, minority groups or the history of black people in the United States, or the history of Jewish people in the United States, or the history of Arabs in the United States. I mean, it's sadly, it takes time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate and it sucks really bad. And it's easy for me to sit here and say, right, but that's just from having read a lot and had a lot of conversations with a lot of people and immersed myself in things like this for a very long time. The sad truth is, it just takes a while.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy what he said about, like, hey, it takes time. And, one of probably my favorite author of all time is Baldwin. You know, and he said, you know,
always told me it takes time. It's taken my father's time, my mother's time, uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress?
And I think that's kind of what we're trying to figure out right now.
Sure.
It's like, yes, you're saying, hey, this is hard for me. I can't figure this out right here and right now, you know, but I'm trying. And, you know, but for a lot of times it's like, no, the time is now for you to be better. You know,
some things get absurd, right? You know, especially when, like, I love Baldwin, by the way, too, man. But where I go back and forth with is what I just said, is trying to, you know, understand that things take time. And then on the other side of me is like, what the taking so long?
Yeah. Look, and I know people want to get on Snoop, but like, one of the things that I think people do not say enough in conversations like this or any other conversation is like, I didn't know what to say. I don't know. And sometimes we take that as sometimes someone's saying, I don't know. And maybe it's because it's Snoop and all the things that he's had going on in his life. And there was a little bit of laughter involved. But he's like, I didn't know what to say at that time. Sometimes you have to give credit to people saying, I don't know. Everyone can't have the answer as soon as you want it to.
Sure.
You know, but once again, it goes back to what I said about like, how long do I have to wait on you to have to figure that out?
Yeah.
You know, that said, I listened to Dre Day the other day. That might be one of the most homoerotic hip hop songs ever. Because there's a lot of those. Because it's a lot of like, when I put my sack on your tonsils, I'm like, sir, this is not. Listen. And I'm like, that's where things. You know, I try to always kind of work things through sometimes comedy to make them more palatable. But I was like, wow, this song is extra gay in a way that is disturbing.
He's not lying though.
You know, and because the whole, especially the verse about Luke, I was like, hold on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But hey, once again, sometimes we just can't wait on you to be better. You need to be better right now.
I think everybody has acknowledged, and this is a dope thing about it, Lone, pretty much, you know, you talked about it, Terry as well, all of us, is, you know, evolution and grace. Because I am nowhere near the person I was at 17. Now,
Please tell him.
I see a lot of things differently. And my mom and my daddy, God rest his soul, they were right on a lot of things that they told me that I didn't see when I was 20, when I was 15, when I was 16. And as we get older, we look at the things that we enjoyed as creatives and young creators, and we're like, damn, we really were on that. We bought this, we bought that, we watched this, we watched that. And we lived by it, we swore by it, we swapped CDs, we did all that. And then you get into your 40s, it's like, damn, I was on that. That's the type of time I was on. Not saying everything was bad, but it's evolution. It's growing. It's growth.
I've said on this show, you know, while I thought they were attacking us as young black kids who enjoyed hip hop, Reverend Calvin Butts, C. Dolores Tucker, they were not wrong. You know, and I can talk, you know, we talk about evolution. I'll be honest, this is a surprise. Probably everybody's listening, including the people in this room. I did not have a particularly favorable view of people in interracial relationships 25 years ago.
Look out now. Look out now.
Specifically black men that dated out.
Come on.
I just didn't have a particularly good view of, I thought less of them.
But as you grow and you
then
learn.
I'm like, what am I on?
Bro,
then I started dating white women. So that's
the answer right
That's
there.
really what I was going for.
I mean, like, this ain't that bad.
Hey, listen.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that. But
That's the quote of the day.
My father's accuracy percentage in hindsight, when I got into my 30s and going into my 40s, I'm like, this dude was at like a 97% clip. I thought he was at like
doing what he's supposed to do.
I thought he was at a 45 or a 50 when I was 20. I'm like, fam was like 97% right on everything that he told me. And to this day, I still think about things where I'm like, Daddy was right.
Man,
right.
It is not the same for me. My percentages are not the same.
My dad was right. His percentage was crazy. Like he
Shouts to all my influences.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
All right, man. Mom and them was right, man. Hey,